Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Supatease video. We've got another round of class tuning changes for the live game with both PvE and PvP taken into consideration. And we do have an update for 9.2, the PTR, and what is coming in that patch. A little bit of a glimpse of what is possible in this video. And if you want to make sure that you're staying up to date with everything World of Warcraft and ahead of the competition, or if something might pique your interest in the future in checking WoW out again, then make sure you hit the subscribe button, because I do bring these updates to the channel pretty much as they happen. So let's just get started without further ado. We are going to see significant nerfs to the Guardian Druid set bonuses. This is probably in addition to the PvP nerfs that already happened to it. I was thinking that we might have a repeat of Guardian Druids from Battle for Azeroth, but they are immediately nipping that one in the butt, and Guardian Druid is getting trimmed down a bit in terms of its overall damage, and it seems like the outlier of this set bonus performing much higher than other set bonuses for other tanks is one of those things to be the main target. And we can see now that they are considering PvP when they are making these changes for PvE, because a lot of these buffs are to specs that are underperforming in PvE, but indirectly would have made them absolutely ridiculous, such as looking at this. The 2-set bonus of mages for fire is going to be combustion's duration is increased from 4 seconds up from 2, but this is not going to apply in PvP combat. Fireball's damage is going to be increased by 20%, but not going to apply in PvP combat. Fire blast damage is increased by 10%, not going to be increased in PvP combat, and pyroblast damage has been increased by 6%, and this does not apply in PvP combat. So these are all really nice for bringing Fire Mage up to par with other specializations in PvE without the negative implications of how ridiculous this probably would have been if these went through in PvP. Windwalker is getting the same type of changes, but some of these changes will work in PvP. Windwalker is receiving a 10% damage buff to Rising Sun Kick, but not in PvP. Blackout Kick is receiving a 10% damage buff, and this will also be in PvP because it does not say anything about it below it. Tiger Palm is also having its damage increased by 10% in everything. This is PvP included. Fist of the White Tiger damage has been increased by 10%, and their developer note reads, while Windwalker monks shine in multi-target situations, we're seeing their performance fall behind in single-target scenarios, even after acquiring endgame gear. As a result, we're targeting specific abilities with the goal of improving their single-target output. So Windwalkers, when it comes to the game as a whole, getting a win. PvP, you're also getting a slight win as well, which I think for a lot of monks wanting their damage to be more so outside of just their cooldown window, this is great changes. This is the type of improvements that has made a lot of other specs feel great in PvP. But Windwalker was in a pretty good position even without this, so you're just going to be in an even better one. We are seeing changes to the Retribution paladin set bonuses and some balance changes. Their 2-set bonus is going to be increasing Seraphim's duration by 1 second. So Seraphim proc will be 4 seconds up from 3. And it looks like that will apply in PvP. So Ret Paladin getting a little bit scary here as well. Divine Storm's damage has been increased by 10%, but not in PvP. And Wake of Ashes damage has been increased by 10%, but not in PvP. So this just reads to me as if they're okay with Seraphim getting a bit longer of an uptime for Ret in PvP on the proc. It is a pretty low uptime at the moment at only 3 seconds. So just a minor little buff here for Ret in PvP, and some pretty big buffs with 10% in PvE. I'm not sure if that's really going to be enough to bring you into competitive play for PvE, but a buff nonetheless for your Ret Paladins out there. Assassination Rogue, Fan of Knives damage is being increased by 30%, and this will be in PvP as well. There's nothing as far as I can see as a Fan of Knives build in PvP, so I'm not imagining that this is going to have an implication, but if you're an Assassination Rogue out there and you think there's a Fan of Knives build, because there has been in the past, that could, take advantage of this buff, then that would definitely be the case. But a little bit of an AoE buff for Assassination when it comes to PvE, and it looks like Demonology Warlock's Demonics Consumption now causes your demon commander to drain 12% of the life force from your other demons, was 15%. I'm unsure because when I've played Demo, I never run this talent. I'm unsure if this is a nerf because it's draining less life, if that means it's also going to do less damage. So you'll have to confirm that in the comments down below for the demonology players out there. But I was seeing people talking about small nerf to demonology, so I'm imagining that's what this is. PvP changes. We are seeing Cosmic Gladiator's Eternal Aegis. This is the shield trinket, and I really like what they talk about in this. The value of the magic shield provided by Cosmic Gladiator's Eternal Aegis has been reduced by 33%. It'll still have the full value on cosmic damage. Developer note, we've been monitoring the performance of our newly introduced PvP trinkets during Season 3 and their effect on the length of matches, and have decided to adjust the effectiveness of the Cosmic Gladiator's Eternal Aegis to bring it in line with other defensive trinket options. With weekly maintenance, we'll be reducing the magic absorption provided by the trinket by 33%. And I'm curious to see how this plays out because while it seems like this trinket is lined up to be a counter to the resonator, most of the time you won't be able to activate it when the resonators are down on you because you'll already be stunned by a rogue mage. So this is kind of indirectly a really big buff to rogue mage. It's also an indirect buff to all the caster cleaves that are in the game. It's certainly going to speed up the game because you're probably not going to wear it if the absorb isn't high enough anymore after this change. But it's going to benefit those types of specs, potentially shifting the meta more in favor of those comps that are already powerful, unless we see some more PvP specific changes for those specs. And perhaps we will, given that these seem to be all tuning around PvE. And once they've gotten through that, then maybe we can have a look at PvP as well. But I like that they talked about the reasoning for making this change and making the games not last as long. A lot of competitive games are going really deep into dampening. I think that would only continue as a trend as players get better and better with trading cooldowns. And it looks like they did ease up on the set bonus for PvP nerfing to 25%, so it's still the same. So maybe I don't think Guardian's gonna be running people over after this. I tried it even before this nerf, and it was all right in skirmishes and like 1v1. You're absolutely crazy in that regard, but it seemed like it was pretty easy to heal when there was an enemy healer on the team. It wasn't like an overwhelming one-shot amount of damage. And it looks like Holy Priest is getting targeted here by some pretty big PvP specific changes. So Holy Ward PvP talent cooldown increased to 45 seconds up from 30, and the duration has been decreased to 15 seconds down from 30. And the duration is a big deal because a lot of times you just put that up and then a lot of teams might not have a good way of getting rid of it, so you just sit there being immune to it. This is going to mean that you're going to have to time it a little bit better, and you're going to have it a lot more infrequently. But more importantly, a change to your 4-set bonus. Divine Conversation's effectiveness has been reduced by 40% in PvP combat. I think Holy Priest probably had the highest output set bonus when it came to PvP, so this makes a lot of sense. The developer note reading, we have been monitoring Holy Priest performance in rated PvP and will be adjusting the cooldown and duration of Holy Ward to increase interactivity with the talent while providing more counterplay opportunity for opponents. We will also be reducing the effectiveness of Divine Conversation while in PvP combat, as the throughput increase provided by the set bonus is more substantial than we would like. With weekly maintenance, we will be increasing Holy Ward's cooldown to 45 seconds and decreasing its duration to 15, and we will also be reducing the effectiveness of Divine Conversation by 40% in PvP combat. And Holy Priest was really dominating. It was on top. I don't think that this is a nerf that's going to completely wipe it off the face of the earth either. I think it's just an appropriate change based on the assessment of the set bonuses, and there was so much thrown into this patch, and we were unlocking it slowly and surely over time, but didn't have it all at the same time, so it was tough to be like, what's going to be good 2 months from now with the set bonus and the double legendary, and so figuring out and balance tuning this. I know if I was the one that had to do it, it would probably have been a nightmare to not have it all be available, but hopefully now as things become more unlocked, that Creation Catalyst is the one that I wish came out sooner than later for crafting your tier set bonuses to have that guarantee. I'm really not a fan of things being rewarded only through RNG, but I like the descriptions. I like their talking. These little developer notes are really cool. I really enjoyed these. I'm glad they took into account the specializations that were overperforming in PvP to account for that and make PvP specific changes. It's these types of updates to the game as a whole that I think will make the game great, and it's this type of kind of trajectory into the future for 9.2.5 and for 10.0, like the next expansion, that make me very hopeful for the future, because stuff like this in Battle for Azeroth, for example, seemed like it just kind of disappeared. We stopped seeing it as much, and it was more back in Legion when we saw a lot of stuff like this, which I really liked. So I'm glad that this is back. And we've got our 9.2.5 update. They talk a little bit about what dungeons aren't going to be cross-faction available if you're interested in that, and talk about all the new things to do with Blood Elves and Dark Iron Dwarves if you're interested in that type of stuff. This is the patch where they are looking to introduce the new arena, the Enigma Arena. This is the one where you can build pillars and craft them on the map while you're fighting, I believe. Curious to see if it ends up playing out like that, if there's any sort of restrictions on actually having that be implemented. But that arena could either be really cool or really disastrous. I'm kind of excited to see it because it's the first time that they've really tried something completely new, just not just putting 3 pillars in with a circle type of deal. So I'm kind of actually excited to see it. But I know that maybe I'm going to end up being a bit toxic if it ends up frustrating me, of course, because it is such a big risk. But I like that they're doing that. And if it ends up being that bad, hopefully they'll look back at it and maybe not make it be that in that case. But now they talk about 9.2.5, and they're planning adjustments to PvP talents that could benefit from mechanical changes. And they only list a couple right now, which are targeted towards Warlock. They're going to be removing demon armor. This is going to open up an extra talent slot for you in your PvP talents, and they're just going to be buffing your passive Demonic Embrace to be 20% increased stamina up from 10%. They're introducing a new PvP talent called Shadowfall, which is gain the Nightfall talent, which is that instant Shadow Bolt, increased chance to cause your next Shadow Bolt to be instant. If you already have this talented, then you may select another one in the same row. I think this might be to try and let Affliction Warlocks be able to play Necrolord Covenant, because they really can't benefit from the Decimating Bolt whatsoever. So being able to get those instant Shadow Bolts, that I actually really liked the Nightfall build in previous iterations of Affliction, so being able to get back to that. But Affliction is still going to struggle with being GCD capped. Like, you've got so many dots you need to keep up at all times that I think it's going to be pretty rough to even do this. But I like that they're looking at PvP talents that are kind of auto locked in passives, right? That are more like tuning knobs than they are talents. They're not really interesting. It's just, yeah, I need to take that because it makes my class viable, and just making those baseline and then giving you more choice to go after the more fun ones and the more creative ones, I think is a good move. And hopefully we can see more of this for other specializations as well. But this is a good sign for the initial stages of 9.2.5. But other than that, thank you very much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed the update. If you'd like to follow me live, twitch.tv/Supatease, streaming there pretty much every day. So if you'd like to catch the 2400 challenge, I've currently finished Warlock and Druid to 2400 rating in 3v3, and I'm planning on doing all of the classes. And once again, if you'd like to make sure you're staying up to date with news and changes to the game, hit the subscribe button. And thank you for watching. I will catch you in the next video.